Hello Strength Masters, welcome to Whiteboard Wednesdays. I am Phil McDougall and this is Scott Olson, and today we're going to talk about mobility. First of all, I'm going to pass over to Scott to explain the difference between mobility and flexibility.
Perfect. So flexibility, most everyone's familiar with this concept, but really it's about how far can we go, what is the range of motion, and so whether or not we have to work on basic flexibility, that's great if that's what you need. Mobility is an added component here, which is how far can we go and stay stable or stay engaged in that range of motion. So the biggest difference is if I can fold over and touch my toes in what is considered a flexibility test. Could I do that while holding on to something, playing with my dog, being under load? If I can't, then I'm not mobile enough. And this is going to show up in many parts of the body where, in fact, people think they're flexible enough, and as soon as they go into a lunge, something really tricky happens in their body. So, in fact, they have some limitation in mobility. Their body doesn't trust the position under load somehow. So the broader question, of course, is why do we need it? At the end of the day, if we're mobile enough for our activities, we're not going to get injured. So anytime we go through this process where there's chronic knee pain or the low back is hurting, chances are if we had a video of that movement pattern, we would see, we're stiff in all the wrong places. We're perhaps hyper mobile in some other tricky places. We want mobility as the trained, kind of trusted coordination of the body under load. So, Phil, where do you take us with this concept of how do we know if we have enough?
Okay, again, all very matter of opinion, but I would say that all humans of all ages, as long as they're able-bodied, as a test of whether they are mobile enough, they should be able to get down onto the floor, put their chest down onto the floor and stand back up again relatively easily, without it being like a multi-movement exercise that takes minutes and hanging on to things. Generally speaking though, for everyday athletes, I would say that a quick test just to see if your ankles and hips are mobile enough. If you put your feet and knees together, keep them locked together and squat down as far as you can. If you can get your butt touching your heels, your hips and ankles are mobile enough. Most people's aren't, because for many reasons, basically because we haven't moved well for our lives. As a test for the thoracic spine, stand in front of a wall, hands up above the head, biceps touching ears, toes 9 inches away from the wall. If you can squat down to parallel without your hands touching the wall, then your T-spine, generally speaking, is mobile enough. Obviously the T-spine rotates and flexes, but this is just a very broad test, just to see if you have that extension available, which again most people don't. So it's also worth mentioning at this point that mobility and stability should in theory share the same continuum. It's a well-moving human should have an equal balance of mobility and stability, and everyone should sit in there. When we're all born here. So every baby comes out at this point. And it takes about 3 years of really good movement, crawling around on the floor, rolling, various crawling patterns, to kind of reach this sweet spot here. Then as we get older and we spend so much time just sitting and not moving our bodies, then we kind of creep up towards this end. Now, so I'll pass over to Scott. So how would you say we can improve our mobility if we've gone beyond this point, right up to the stability end?
Nice. So the bigger kind of question here is there's a difference between stability and stiffness, but it can look like the same thing. So what we don't want is stiffness. We don't want compression. We don't want just bad habits jamming everything up because maybe we were sitting too much or engaged in the same activity over and over again for work or whatnot. So how do we improve it? One of the best ways to check in with the body is, can we still breathe appropriately throughout the whole motion, throughout the whole range of motion? If we can't, that's really what we need to be working on. So for mobility, always check in with your breath. Not just are you breathing well, but a question mark, if I'm in this position, if I'm in this engaged stretch perhaps, can I still take a deep breath in? There's a lot of information we get about that. And in truth, that breath opens up a lot of the tissue that is part of this whole mobility stability spectrum in a healthy way. The other approach to improving it is breaking up your routine. So consider getting up from your desk or shifting out of your classic workout routine and adding different movement snacks. Phil, I think you can offer something on that level.
Yeah, we'll look out for an accompanying video to this Whiteboard Wednesday, and we'll show you a series of movement snacks that you can incorporate to your day just to help get rid of that stiffness and open you back up again. As always, thanks for watching everyone, and we look forward to seeing you next week.